Hi, I'm Donica Hudson here at the Salt and Light Conference in Mount Airy, North Carolina for the Faith and Freedom Coalition. And we have with us Congressman Ted Budd. Welcome, Ted Budd.
Donica, it's great to be here.
It's good to have you. And you and I have a history with the bus tour.
Yes, we do. The bus tour was epic, made a huge difference. I know we're not in Greensboro today, but that was very helpful there when you were there.
Well, we enjoyed doing it. I have a friend from Washington, Nancy Schultz, who founded the Congressional Wives Speakers, and we actually put together a bus tour with my trusty friend from NC Values, who's the Director of Public Affairs, Jim Quick, here in the back. And we were glad to see that you were elected, and we are praying that you will be again. So tell us.
Me too.
Yeah, I bet you are. And I met your lovely wife in Washington at the First Ladies.
And you mentioned Nancy Schultz. That is Nancy's biggest fan. Amy loves Nancy and is very involved there.
Yeah. Your wife's beautiful, by the way.
I outdid myself.
She sure is. So, tell us
There's a great story there too.
Oh, is it? Tell us about it.
Absolutely.
People like to know the backstory.
Yeah, okay. So most people here on your show haven't met Amy Kate yet, but I want to give her all the credit for what I do, raising 3 great kids. But we met in Moscow.
No way.
And it was when the Soviet Union was still a communist country. For the next week, it would be a communist country. It was the week before the coup in 1991.
However,
I was on a mission trip, met her there. They say, well, how's her English? I said, well, it's pretty good. She's from West Virginia. All right, so now they understand the rest of the story. We were both in Campus Crusade, now called Crew.
Yeah.
I went there with Josh McDowell. She was on the same trip. There were like 400 of us there in August of 91. She fell in love with missions, international travel. She had actually gone with Rotary, more of a social organization, but had gone there in 1989 to Belgium when the wall came down when she was there. And then 2 years later, she went to the Soviet Union, not knowing it would be the week right before the coup. Yeltsin was on the rise to power, was shaking hands at the airport when we were there, and it was just an amazing time. And to share the gospel as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we met and kept seeing each other.
Yeah. Well, I can't help but draw the correlation that here we are with socialism moving towards Marxism and communism, and here you are again pushing back the Iron Curtain. I mean,
Donica, if they had seen what I saw, look, we were very well taken care of as visitors to the USSR at the time, but you could see the despair in people's eyes. Yeah. Look, we had backpacks with like Christian literature, just explaining, what Salt and Light was, and they started pulling our backpacks open on Red Square, and I was like, oh no, we're going to jail, and they'll never see me again. But I turned around, and it was elderly women who probably remember the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, and when they figured out what it was, and it was in Russian. Yeah. When they figured out what it was, they began weeping and getting armloads of it and passing it out to their friends. That's how much in despair they had. Empty shelves, long lines, bleak buildings to live in. Why would we ever want to go back to that? And look, I'm on the Financial Services Committee. So we do banking and insurance. But when I look behind me, I see Maxine Waters. She's the chairwoman of my committee. And when I look literally to my left, it's 3 out of 4 of the squad. On financial services. I mean, this is a financially strong country. I mean, that's not ultimately where our strength lies. It's in God's provision and protection. But at the same time, they want to break down everything in the systems which enable so many people to get out of poverty. And they want to tear it down and go back to what I saw being torn down in 1991 in the Soviet Union.
It's unbelievable. I can't believe this is America. I don't understand how representatives can run on a platform of Sharia law or socialism openly and then take oath of office to uphold our Constitution. How is that legal? I don't get it.
Yeah.
How can we do this?
It blows my mind. And look, ultimately, we reflect the way a representative democracy works is we, as the 435 of us in the House and the 100 in the Senate and the presidency, ultimately reflect what the people believe. So when you look at these districts, pockets in Minnesota or Michigan, they're sending what that area actually believes.
That's right.
And so I think it's really up to the church, yes, to teach the truths in Scripture, but also see how that applies in political systems. Now, look, you want to be a little open-ended at the right time, but there are some real clear connections between the freedoms that God talks about in the scriptures through Christ and the freedoms that our country has. Yeah. You don't want to over-correlate those things, but there is they resonate well together.
Yes.
And we are a very free country because of the principles upon which we were based.
Mm-hmm. And if you're watching right now here at the Faith and Freedom Coalition, we have Congressman Ted Budd with us. And I, for one, am grateful that you are running on a platform that is congruent with our Constitution.
Absolutely.
That you are a man of faith, and that you do bring salt and light to North Carolina. Can you speak to your constituents here, share with them what you would like for them to know about you?
Yeah, so this is the Salt and Light Conference. I mean, that comes from Matthew 5, chapter 5, verse 13. And really, we use that term if some of us who, not all of us were, but some of us grew up in Sunday school, when we think about salt and light, maybe we heard the teachings of Jesus there. But we really want to think of salt as a preservative. And it preserves our culture, preserves our country, but it also adds flavor, and it really brings a joy, like salt could bring a joy to a meal. It can bring joy to life, and that's what I think we need to be as salt. But also light. I mean, we're a beacon of truth, and we should show the pathway that we should go as a country. And I really think we contain the best platform for that as Christians and as believers, and I'm really appreciative of what Salt and Light stands for.
I am too. Now, you told me one thing I want to wrap up with.
Sure.
You told me this in 2018. I think it was 2018, yeah.
That was a tough election.
It was a tough election.
This one's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was unbelievable, and I'm glad that so many people came out to support me. Glad you did as well.
Yeah, well, how can we not vote for truth here? I mean, it's pretty obvious when you look at the voter guide and look at these issues. You can go to ncfaithandfreedom.com to get this. You said that President Trump has a whiteboard in his office, and that he actually put his campaign promises on there and would mark them off. Can you comment on that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they really, I think this was new for somebody at the presidential level to actually, maybe in the last couple hundred years. I don't think they had whiteboards in a couple hundred years ago.
Probably not.
Right? Maybe it was chalk back
Moses
then.
tablets.
That's right.
Oh, no.
It took a while to etch them out.
Yeah.
He actually took his campaign promises that he ran on,
and
he says, let's go to work. And it was a to-do list for him. So the more he goes along, he's a business person. I promised this, I got to deliver. He realizes he had a 4-year contract, and look at the opposition that he's had. And but if you listen to his campaign speeches or any of his talks, he talks about accomplishments, and they match up with what he has already said he would do. And I just think from that perspective, it's just been phenomenal what he's accomplished. I mean, it's dozens and dozens of promises, big and small, that he's accomplished, including, 250, 300 judges that have been appointed.
Yes.
It's just
That's
phenomenal.
huge. Yes, it is. And so I want to thank you for tuning in to Salt and Light here in North Carolina at Mount Airy. Congressman Ted Budd has been with us. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.